Welcome to Sacred Harmony. Tonight, we are joined by Briana Ellison, transformational coach, energy healer, and founder of the Rise and Align membership. Briana's works blend nutrition, mindfulness, energy healing, and mindset practices to help women reconnect with intuition and design lives filled with balance, purpose, and abundance. In this conversation, we'll explore how simple daily routines rooted in mindfulness can create radical transformation. Welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you, Brianna.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and have this conversation with you today.
So, you say simple daily routines can radically transform life. Why do you think it's the small, consistent practices that create the biggest shifts?
So I think that when we have really big routines or anything that takes a long time, it can be very challenging to stick to it because it's overwhelming. And so for me, I've found, and that of my clients, that when we have these really simple, small routines, it's just easier to stick to it because we can fit it in where we need to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And can you share a client story where just one daily practice made a profound difference?
Yeah. So I had a client who, she works full time. She's also a full time mother. And she was just really finding that she was stressed all the time and just having a really hard time going from that transition of being at the office and then going to being into mom mode. And for her, learning breathwork tools was one of the most powerful things that she could do because she was able to understand that if she just took a quick pause before going and picking up her daughter and she did a little bit of breathwork in the car, she could totally reset her nervous system and move out of that busy, I've been going all day, stressed out mode to okay, I'm feeling calm and collected before picking up my daughter and going into this next phase. We have those two different personalities where you're here I am as the CEO, and then here I am as a mother. And so breathwork was really the most powerful tool that worked for her when we were working together.
Yeah. And it's inspiring to realize that transformation doesn't require an overhaul, just intentional consistency.
Yes, definitely. And I love breathwork as one of the most powerful tools because it's one of those things you don't have to remember to pack it with you as you leave the house. We breathe without even thinking about it. And it's often something that's overlooked because it's so simple and yet it's so powerful to instantly regulate your nervous system.
Yeah. And mindfulness is often spoken about in big, abstract terms. How do you define mindfulness in a way that feels practical for everyday life?
I often tell people to not overthink it and that mindfulness really is just about stopping and being present in the moment. So, creating a mindfulness practice can look different for everyone. And I often tell my clients to try many different things, from journaling to going on a walk in nature, to just sitting in silence, to doing a guided meditation, singing, light movement, watching the sunrise. It's just those little pockets of stillness because we do live in a society that is very much about celebrating being busy and constantly moving. So, mindfulness truly is just stopping and taking a few deep breaths and being present.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's one micro practice listeners could try today that only takes a few minutes?
So journaling, I feel is one of those great things that you can do that's just really simple, especially finding a gratitude journal where every night when you go to bed, you just jot down 3 things that you're grateful for that happened to you today, whether it's somebody letting you in line, at the local coffee shop, or, having a family. And it doesn't have to be these massive things. It's just little moments where you think back and you really focus on gratitude and positive things. Because, throughout the day, we all have things that feel negative or things that didn't go our way. But when we focus on more positive things, we attract more positivity into our life. So I love the practice of focusing on gratitude right before bed, and you kind of wake up in that same beautiful energy of gratitude.
Yeah. And that makes mindfulness feel accessible rather than intimidating, like something anyone can start with.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And you integrate Reiki, breathwork, and energy healing into your coaching. How do these tools complement traditional ideas where wellness like nutrition and exercise?
So those are all things that I do generally more in like an in-person. I have people that come to see me in person for Reiki or energy healing. And those are really great complements to your spiritual journey and just focusing more on your body and being present in your body.
Yeah. And do you find that once mindset and energy shift, the physical habits naturally follow?
I do feel like it's kind of an all embodiment. Like you want to have, like, if you imagine like a circle, every piece of that is something that's necessary in order to be in optimal health. So you can't just have one aspect of things. So you can't, I actually started out in integrative nutrition. And that was, when I first opened up my private practice, it wasn't integrative nutrition. But I found that over time, if once people adopted these wonderful eating habits, if they didn't have a way to manage their stress, like they just were not in optimal health. So I kind of started working everything into that, from nutrition to, figuring out an exercise routine that you like and that you look forward to. And then adding in, the mindfulness practices of journaling and breath work, and just getting people to be more present in their body and understand, what am I feeling, tuning into where you're at throughout the day, and just having that awareness. I think the awareness is key.
Yes. And that also shows how healing isn't just body or mind, it's a dance between them.
It is. It really is. It's all encompassing. So it's, looking for, trapped emotions or things that maybe happened to you far in the past, but they've been buried so deep, but now you have like a physical symptom that's coming up, or pain. And so it's really kind of about just peeling back the layers as you go on your journey through health and wellness, and figuring out which areas that you need to like go deeper into.
Huh? Right. And also, many people struggle with consistency. What advice do you give to someone who is starting strong but quickly loses momentum in building new routines?
I would just say baby steps. Doing it is better. Trying it for even just a couple minutes is better than not doing it at all. I find that when people are starting a new mindfulness routine, if they've set out to do, like, let's say 20 minutes per day, but then they only have 5 minutes that morning because something came up or they have a meeting, then they often end up not doing it. And that's how they kind of fall off the bandwagon. So I often tell people, you know what, doing it even just for a couple minutes is better than not doing it all, so that you can stay consistent. And even just that intentional 2 minutes of breath work in the morning where you're setting an intention, maybe an anchor word. And as you go about your day, and you feel yourself drifting from that word, you can really pull yourself back. So I think done is better than none, is what I often tell people. Just do what you can in that moment and then build up from there.
Yes, definitely. And have you found accountability or community plays a role in sustaining transformation?
Definitely. So I used to do a lot of one-on-ones. And then as I noticed that most people were struggling with similar things, and the accountability aspect of the community was something that I felt like was missing. And so that was really why I created the Rise and Align membership, was because I wanted people to know that, many people are feeling the same way that they're feeling, and to be able to hear other people's stories and their journey is really empowering, and also makes you feel like you're not alone. And I think just having a group setting also helps in that accountability aspect. It's not just you and your coach trying to, keep you accountable. It's like you've got all these other people that know your journey and what you're working towards, and they're all there in the background, like cheering you on.
And that's so powerful. It's like reminding us that discipline doesn't have to mean doing it alone.
Yes, I think doing it with people, that's how our ancestors did it. We lived in communities, we lived in tribes. And now, we're very separate the way that, a lot of the world lives. Like, we're very segregated in these little, we go to work and then we come home, and we don't have the community aspect that we used to. And especially as mothers, it can be very isolating. And I think it's important to really have that community and continue to build that, because I feel, as a mother myself, that's something that was definitely missing from my life as a new mom.
Yes, makes sense. And if someone listening feels overwhelmed by stress and self doubt, where's the best place to begin?
I would say the best way to begin is to find some pockets of time. So if you have children, or even if you don't, like get up 20 to 30 minutes earlier than you normally would and just have a brief moment to yourself. I think when you start your morning on your own terms, not with this, your child poking you and being like, "Hey, I'm hungry," or, this rush to the office. If you get up and you just have this slow, intentional, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10, or whether you can get in 30 minutes, it's going to set your nervous system up for the entire day to just naturally be more calm. And remembering your breath, that is the thing I always tell people. The minute you feel your heart racing and, the heat in your cheeks of your face, like the minute you feel that intensity, just remember to go back to deep inhales and exhales.
Yeah, 100%. And once they begin, how can they start recognizing the subtle signs of progress within themselves?
Most people will notice that they feel calmer, they have a sense of peace, they feel like they have more clarity. Clarity is a big piece because I think oftentimes people are searching for answers. They have questions, what is my purpose? Or am I on the right path? Or am I doing enough? Reason why most of us have all these questions and no answers is we haven't given ourselves any time to connect to our intuition or to our higher selves. And so when we have this practice of connecting, journaling, and just that moment to come back and really check in with yourself and say, how am I doing? How am I feeling? We get a lot of clarity in those moments.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see transformation as something that reveals itself in quiet, affirming ways.
Yes, definitely.
So, what a refreshing reminder that transformation isn't about complexity, it's about presence. Briana Ellison shows us how simple mindfulness routines can realign with us, our highest selves, and spark lasting change. If you're listening, start with one practice today. Breathe, pause, and choose a ritual that reminds you of your own power, because true harmony begins within.